It's a new year, and this is the first Commissioner's Report show for 2017. And first up, this year is Commissioner Hall. Welcome, Commissioner.
It's good to be here.
So you were just re-elected. What was that like for you?
Well, it's pretty intense. Anytime you go through an election, all the places you've got to be, the people you have to talk to, the constituents that you need to meet and let them know what is on your agenda as opposed to what is on your opponent's agenda.
And that's one of the things we will be exploring throughout this show. What are your plans for the next 4 years? Because it's a 4-year term that you get to serve once you get reelected.
That's correct. And all those things are on anyone that's running. They're on your mind when you're going through the election process is, if elected, how do you want to proceed? What do you want to accomplish? We accomplished quite a bit, and when I say we, I'm talking about the whole board because I'm only 20% of the vote anytime an agenda item comes up. But we accomplished quite a bit in the first 4 years I was on the board and look forward to accomplishing quite a bit more in the next 4 years.
Okay, perfect. So just walk me through, during an election, what goes through your mind?
Well, again, you know, the things that you want to accomplish and how do you get that information across to people? When you're talking about taxes and it's people's money and it's money they've earned, you want to keep as much of that in their pockets as possible because you're in the same boat. You're paying taxes and you're really cognizant of that. So it's just what is it that you want to accomplish and how do you get that across and how do you do that within the current tax structure?
Mm-hmm. So, Commissioner, we have a growing Polk County. I mean, we have Noah moving in Lakeland. We have the Orlando Magic basketball team moving. We have a lot of developments.
Yes, we do. NOAA is going to be big for Lakeland Linder, the airport out there. It is expanding, and hopefully we'll get some type of commercial service in there in the future, very near future, hopefully. And the Orlando Magic basketball team, they have their D-level or their developmental league that is going to be at the Lakeland Center for 5 years. So it's going to be exciting in Polk County, and we'll have professional basketball that we can go and watch. So it's going to be good.
And with more and more projects, with new constructions and that sort of stuff, it comes with a lot of challenges, such as, you know, we've talked about, you know, over the past year or so, the water shortage that we're currently facing.
Yes. If you take a look at the University of Florida's projections for Polk County, by the year 2035, we're going to be over 900,000 people. That presents a lot of problems. One of the biggest problems is water supply. And the reason for that is currently we get all of our water supply from the upper Floridan aquifer, and we are having to look for now alternative water supply sources. And the entire county, all 17 municipalities, the Board of County Commissioners and Southwest Florida Water Management District has signed on to an agreement. We've created Polk Water Cooperative, and we're looking for alternative water supplies, and one of those is the deep Floridan aquifer. So we've done some test wells and we have found that the water is treatable and it's good, so it looks good to being able to furnish water for those 900,000 people.
Great, because soon enough it's going to be 1 million people in Polk County within maybe what, a decade, or so from now, you think?
Yeah, about 2 decades. Mm-hmm. You know, we're going to be right at 1 million people, and with that growth comes other challenges. It's jobs, you know, it's industry, it's commercial applications. And then how do we get those people around, not only furnishing water, but what's the transportation going to be like during that period of time? How do we get people to jobs? How do we get them to medical appointments and the different places that they need to be, schools? So transportation is going to be a big issue as we continue to grow.
And what are some of the projects that you're looking at to try to help with the transportation?
Well, we're looking at trying to finish the Bartow Northern Connector. We've got phase 1 complete. We're looking at trying to complete phase 2, and that will connect US 17 with 60, Highway 60. And hopefully that'll take about 200 semi-trips a day out of the Bartow area, and specifically down at the US 98 and 60 bypass in Bartow. So there's semis that are coming out of the Intermodal Logistics Center at CSX, and we hope to be able to get those through Polk County without causing a lot of traffic jams in the future.
And do you have any type of timeline on when you think this may actually happen?
Well, we've been working on it for quite some time. As far as the Bartow Northern Connector, we have now gotten all of the right-of-way purchased. The plans have been completed and are on the shelf, and now we're taking a look at where can we get the construction money, because for another 4-lane segment of that distance, it's about $32 million. So we're looking to see where we can get that money. And it may be a combination of state, federal, and local money, or however it works out to get it constructed.
And the Bartow Northern Connector is one, but there's also the Central Polk Parkway.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have been working with the state on that. It looks like phase 1 is going to be a go on Central Polk Parkway. That will tie in right at the 14, number 14 interchange on the current parkway, and head south. So it's going to be a big boost in getting traffic around. And eventually it'll turn back to the east and back to the north and tie back into Interstate 4 somewhere over on the northeast side of the county. So it's going to be huge for just transportation for people, residents, and then for businesses. And businesses tend to grow along those types of corridors.
Absolutely. And with expansion of people and the transportation improvements, there's also things that you have to consider, like expansion of fire rescue, because with more people, you're going to need more stations and more equipment to handle the people.
Not just fire rescue, but everything. I mean, as you get more people, all of the public safety sector is going to have to expand. The sheriff's office is going to have to expand. The fire rescue, as you mentioned, ambulance services. Everything as far as public safety has got to expand. But fire rescue has been on our radar for quite some time. We just, this board voted to start 5 new fire stations. We've got, they're in temporary quarters right now for the most part. And we've just voted to build 1 new station, and we're taking a look at a second new station over in the West Mulberry area right now. So hopefully those will come to fruition, and then we'll start moving these people out of temporary quarters and into more permanent stations where it appears as though our population is going to be growing.
Fair enough. And even though we have a lot of people coming on into Polk County, and we're seeing a lot of growth, you still want more people.
Well, it's not whether or not I want more people. It's not whether or not you build it and they will come. They're going to come, and then you're going to be forced to build it. So it would be better for us to get out in front of it. And the property for rights of way. Obviously, it's going to be less expensive if you're going through a cow pasture or an old non-productive grove than it would be to try and take businesses or residences out that have already been established. So right now is the perfect time to start taking a look at the future. It would be easy to take a look backwards. I mean, we all do it. Hey, I drive by places today and say, I could have bought that, 10 years ago, and it would have been really reasonable in price. But we need to be looking into the future, and that's why we have our transportation planning organization. That's why we take a look at everything that will benefit all the citizens of Polk County. So it's going to be a big issue in the future.
Absolutely, and with Polk County being a very business-friendly type of place, what are some other things you're doing to attract more businesses here in Polk County?
Well, we have some tax incentives that helps new businesses as they start to come in existing businesses that want to expand. So there's things they can do. They can make application, and if they meet the criteria, then of course we'll vote to give them the tax incentive if they're creating jobs, and that's one of the big issues. Are you creating jobs? Are you going to be doing something for those people that are coming in here or for the people that are already here? Over the last few years, using those tax incentives and helping to get some new business in, we've been able to have an impact on the median salary of the citizens of Polk County and help to raise it from a little over $36,000 a year to just under $40,000 a year. So the median salary is going up, and that helps all of our citizens.
And why does it help? Some people may not necessarily know, so let's explain why.
Well, anytime that you have more money in your pocket, it's a help. But what it does is offer mobility to those people who are already here and already in a job. When we can attract new businesses that are paying 115% of our median salary, then you've got mobility. So it becomes an employee market. You can go out and start taking a look at new jobs. What's going to better benefit your family? Can you provide more for them and more or higher education for your children? So it's a big issue when we can impact someone's bottom line and their income.
And one of the things is, too, you touched on education. Education is quite key. What are we going to be doing, or what do you have planned to help assist with driving education forward and helping the school districts?
Well, we have a meeting that has been scheduled, a joint meeting with the school board, and whatever we can do to help them within reason, we will. They are a separate governing entity among themselves. They've got a 7-member board, and they're responsible for taxes also to provide for education for our children. But whatever we can do to help them within reason, we would do that. The only way to attract higher level positions, higher pay positions, is the high-tech jobs. To be able to attract those high-tech jobs, you need a workforce that is capable of performing the jobs that they would put out. So our education is going to be key in the types of jobs that we create in the future. Don't get me wrong. Every job is appreciated for the businesses that are coming into Polk County, and we need them. We've got people who are out of work, and we need those jobs. But the higher pay, high-tech jobs are the ones that we really want to attract, and we need a workforce that's going to be trained and able to perform those functions. Fantastic.
Any final thoughts?
No, just happy to be here for another 4 years. I appreciate the people of Polk County, the constituents and the citizens having faith in me to put another 4 years in on the board, and it's just good to be back.
Perfect. And it's good to have you. See you for another 4 years. Ready for more commissioner support. Excited for this year ahead. Well, right. That is it for this half of the commissioner's report. Don't go anywhere. We do have more coming up right after this break. Polk County is about 2,000 square miles and a home to more than 500,000 people. And county leaders are tasked with balancing public safety with public funds. That's something that's no easy task. Commissioner George Lindsey is here to talk about the role he and his colleagues play. Welcome, Commissioner.
Well, thank you, Kevin. We appreciate it. Your point is absolutely well taken. The primary responsibility of local government is public safety. We have a lot of challenges. We have a lot of team members on our team to help us meet those challenges. But also public safety, we can only do so much with limited resources. So it is the board's final decision as to where we put the resources to achieve a certain goal. We rely on our team partners to help us make these decisions, to give us the information to make informed decisions. A vital part of that is our transportation staff through the Transportation Planning Organization, which Mr. Deardorff will talk about, and also our partners with the Sheriff's Office help us with a public safety message. It is a complicated task that has many players, and we have to balance those needs with those resources in order to get the best bang for the buck.
Also here for the discussion is Tom Deardorff. Tom is the county's Transportation Planning Organization Executive Director. It's commonly known here as the TPO.
Thank you.
And representing Polk County Sheriff's Office is Lieutenant Greg Goreck. Lieutenant Goreck will talk about how law enforcement fits into the mix.
Thank you for having me.
So, Commissioner, again, why is this an important topic to explore?
Well, public safety is always an important topic. Recent events bring that to the forefront, and so try to get the message that part of the resolution besides the infrastructure that is necessary with the sidewalks and street lights and speed limits and traffic control and all those physical assets, a very, very important element of that has to be personal responsibility, being aware of your surroundings, understanding the rules of the road, and so it's more of an awareness campaign in concert with the physical assets.
And where does the funding come from for some of this?
Well, some of our funding comes from state and federal grants, but that is limited and not always dependable, recurring. The vast majority of it comes from just general revenue, general property taxes. And of course, all the competing needs for those limited resources is a very delicate balancing act.
And Tom, you're one of the people, your department in the TPO is tasked with, pretty much the infrastructure. Explain a little bit more of what you do, what your program is all about.
Well, one of the things the Polk TPO focuses on is how do we improve traffic safety. And I think if you go back to what Commissioner Lindsey was saying, there are limited resources. So one of the things that we try to do is we try to look at, first of all, what are the highest crash corridors throughout the county. And for example, two corridors that we identified were Rifle Range Road and Wabash Avenue. And Rifle Range Road is an example of where we identified that as a high crash corridor, determined that more lighting would be a solution, and this last fall was able to get a grant from the Florida Department of Transportation to have lighting in the Juanita area in about 4 years. But what I'm excited about is as we move into the year 2017, I think we're going to have more of a focus on community education. Typically, we focus on how can we build things to make the situation safer, but as we've discussed, sometimes just building something, even if you had the funds, is not going to create a totally safe situation.
Right, and it's a shared responsibility. It's not just the county, it's not just the TPO, and it's not just the Sheriff's Office. Everyone plays a role in this. So what are some of the things the Sheriff's Office is doing to promote road safety?
Well, I think everyone's hit it on the head. This is actually a team effort. It's not just the driver's responsibility. It's not just the sheriff's office responsibility or the county commissioners. Everybody plays an active role, and everybody has to do the right thing. What the sheriff's office is doing is we're always, again, trying to allocate our resources where they're needed. We're trying to make sure that when we go to an area that we're going at the times when the problems are occurring. We look at data. We are constantly analyzing data to make sure that we're not showing up on a street that has a problem with speeders, but it's not during the time frame they're occurring. So we are constantly using intelligence and analyzing crash reports to determine that. We're trying to do education. We believe in the 3 E's. In engineering, we work with our partners at both the state and the county to make sure that the roadways have the proper engineering, speed limits, and if we see things that need to be corrected, we work together and try to resolve that. We also believe in education. We try to send out social media. We do spots like this. We try to make sure that the word gets out if laws have been changed or if there's a problem in an area. And finally, the third E is enforcement. Enforcement doesn't always mean tickets. I know that makes some people frown, but enforcement has to do with just bringing attention to the fact that maybe they violated something, maybe they didn't realize it. and we really try to go out there and just get the word out to people.
And Tom, I know you were telling me about there is a campaign that we're in very early stages of also working on to try to do some public education on.
Yes, we're just really at the beginning stages of this, but one of the campaigns we're looking to implement next year is a pledge to slow down campaign that's been done in some other communities, and it would be a campaign that would focus and try to raise awareness on the factor or the role that speed plays in severity of injuries and in the number of fatalities. A particular focus for the Polk TPO is trying to reduce pedestrian and bicycle crashes. And if you just take pedestrians, for example, if you have a pedestrian hit by a vehicle at 30 miles an hour, he has a 80% chance of surviving that crash. But if he's hit by a vehicle going 50 miles an hour, he has a 20% chance of surviving that crash. So just something as simple as trying to remind people to slow down is something that could be important. I think it goes back to what Commissioner Lindsey was saying, is that there's there's kind of a personal responsibility that has to factor into safety.
Absolutely, and I understand you guys are also looking for members.
Well, as we get the campaign started, we're going to be looking at looking for different champions as part of that effort.
And Commissioner, I know this is near and dear to you. Why is that?
Well, it's public safety, as I said on the outset, an integral part of what we do. And we have a responsibility for all of our citizens, young and old, pedestrian, bicyclist, and too often the younger kids simply are not paying attention, and they need to be informed in that proper safety procedures. Pedestrians is also. Tom mentioned the pledge to slow down. I have made a conscious effort in my own driving habits to drive nicer, which is sometimes difficult. You know, the pressures of the day, the distractions, we have to be more conscious of that. Sometimes our vehicles are so comfortable we become too comfortable and less aware of our surroundings. And I wanted to ask the Lieutenant, what have you seen in the recent events regarding texting and cell phone use? Has that almost become epidemic?
I would have to say it has, Commissioner. As we get more distractions in the cars, I mean, especially with electronic devices, you know, when GPSs first came out, people would fiddle with those and it would cause it. But now with texting and all types of other social media outlets, a day doesn't go by that I don't see less than 20 people when I pass by them and their head is down in the steering wheel and you know exactly what they're doing. And if I can get there and stop them and educate them, I will. And if I can't, then I just pray that they make it through the day and don't hurt themselves or anybody else. But yes, it has gone to an epidemic proportion.
Is there any legislation at the state level that would give you more enforcement on that? Or?
Well, currently, distracted driving due to electronic devices is a secondary offense, which means I have to see another offense that they've done before I can actually stop them. So if the mere fact that they're texting, then I don't have the ability to stop them for just that. If it ever becomes a primary offense, then I would be able to do that.
And how bad would you say speeding within Polk County?
Speeding in Polk County is probably on par with pretty much every other county. We're all, unfortunately, human beings, and people are in a hurry to get places, and sometimes their need to get there supersedes their better judgment, and they'll get in a hurry. And you know, I don't think people realize the fact that just even a few miles per hour, just like he was saying, it can be the difference between life and death, or even being involved in a crash at all. It all comes down to physics and your ability to stop a car. I mean, 5 miles per hour could be the difference between you being able to stop that car and having an impact and not having an impact.
And of course, impaired driving, I know you were talking about is another big part of it as well.
Yes. We partner with our friends at MAD and all the other impaired driving or the anti-impaired driving coalitions. People just need to realize that if you're going to drink, there's nothing wrong with drinking as long as you're of age. But you know, don't get behind the wheel, and we actually prefer you don't walk either if you're going to be out near the roadways, because sometimes if you're impaired, you don't realize if cars are coming and you might stumble out into traffic. I mean, phone a friend. There's a lot of programs out there that if you are impaired, that if you call, they'll get you a ride. And we got to really focus and think about the big picture. I know that's sometimes hard, but can't be impaired and be behind a wheel. And that includes prescription drugs and illegal drugs as well.
One of our partners that we didn't invite to the table simply because the table is only as big as it
Yeah,
is,
it's true.
is our friends at the school board. We have a great relationship with them and attempt to, as the Lieutenant said, engineer out conflicts as best we can. But the school board's been a valuable partner in these efforts also.
And speaking of school, I know the TPO, I believe, is working something, safe routes to school thing that they were working on recently. You want to talk about that a bit?
Yes, actually it's a current project, and that's an example where the Polk TPO is actually working with the county's Roads and Drainage Division to prepare a Safe Routes to Schools application to improve walking conditions around Crystal Lake Elementary School. And that's an example of where, because there are limited resources, we try to access grants through a program like that.
Yep.
We have a team and staff that try every grant opportunity we can. As I said earlier, they're not recurring dollars that you can count on and program, but from time to time between the state and the feds and other sources, grant opportunities are available. And when we do, and I know the Sheriff's Department has a grant writer for a variety of programs, and whenever there's a chance, we want more than our share. We want $1 more than our share. So it's very aggressive, and our track record proves that we use the dollars in these grants prudently and effectively, and so we'll continue to pursue that.
And I know the county is very proactive with trying to do everything it can to keep Polk County roads safe. We have a lot of roads, a lot of neighborhoods. Sheriff's Office is doing an amazing job at trying to do its best. Of course, the TPO is doing its best with all of the studies. The county is doing its best as well. But again, we also have a responsibility as drivers, pedestrians, the communities, HOAs, everyone has bicyclists, everyone has to do their part in order to keep our roads safe. Lieutenant, I'll leave you, I'll give you a chance now to have some closing remarks.
Again, I appreciate you having me here. I think it's very important to get the message out. Again, our partners are essential in this. We can't do it alone. That includes our community partners as well. We do have programs that we offer as well. One of them being, talk about partnering with the school board, is the Teen Driver Challenge. The Sheriff's Office has a Teen Driver Challenge where we, free of charge, bring teenagers in. It's a one-day classroom, a one-day out on the actual driving pad, teaching them driving skills and trying to enhance their skills since they're limited on experience. But as far as getting the message out, you're right. Everybody has their part. They've got to pay attention. They've got to know the rules of the road. And sometimes, even if you're behind the wheel and you're right, as far as, well, I've got the right of way, it doesn't always mean it's the right thing. Sometimes you got to look around and figure what can go wrong. If it's foreseeable, it's preventable. So, look around and just kind of see, could this be a problem? Do I need to slow down? And it just may save your life or someone else's.
And Tom, what about your closing remarks?
I guess I'd close by just saying I'm excited that the Polk TPO is partnering with Polk Vision to form a new pedestrian bicycle safety team. And it really goes back to the Lieutenant's remarks about what we want to do is take the 3E approach, look at engineering, education, and enforcement strategies to improve traffic safety. So we have our first meeting in January, and we're looking forward to working with our community partners. And I think one of the things we need to do that's critical is to find out what all our partners are already doing to improve safety.
Commissioner Lindsey.
My closing comment is drive nice.
That's a very, very good advice.
Yes, it is.
Well, that's it for this installment of the Commissioner's Report. We'll be back again next month.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. Stop the texts. Stop the wrecks. Visit us at stoptextsstopwrecks.org.